All right, now let's get working. I'm going to work on 8.1 to 8.3. Okay, so here, trying to do conversions from one unit to another. So on that first one, I'm trying to convert from feet to miles. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the conversion fact sheet and see if there's one that'll help me with that. And there's one that says 5,280 feet is the same as 1 mile. So I'm going to use that. Okay. Now, you could just multiply or divide if you knew which thing to do, but we had been working on that idea that if you take the starting measurement, you could multiply it by a conversion, a unit fraction that's created from that conversion fact that has feet on the bottom and miles on the top. Sorry, the writing, it's just not, it doesn't write real well. And so I know 1 mile is the same as 5,280 feet. And so really it turns out that I am going to take the 6,142 and divide. So you should take the 6,142 and divide by 5,280 and you'll wind up with feet. Now, what if instead of it wanting miles, what if it had wanted, no, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, no, let's go ahead. No, I'll leave it at that. We'll just go on and do them as they occur. All right, now the second problem is a little different because it's having you go from meters to centimeters, so you're within the metric system, right? So I'm going to take that starting 10, and I'm going to go to my conversion fact sheet, but I'm going to be looking at when I'm trying to do metric conversions. That's what I'm going to use. And I'm starting with meters, and I'm trying to get to centimeters, right? Starting with meters, meters would be right here at the base unit. That's where you would have just meters, liters, and grams. So I'm starting here at the base unit, and I'm trying to get to centimeters. So that means I'm going to have to go 1, 2 spots over. That means I need to multiply by 100 or multiply by 10 twice. But the shortcut for that is to move the decimal 2 places. Okay, so to go from meters, I need to go from meters to decimeters to centimeters. So that's 2 spots. In a whole number like 10, the decimal is understood to be after the 0, and so I'm going to move it 2 places. So the answer is going to be 1,000 centimeters. Okay. All right, now, next one is asking me to go from square feet to acres. So I'm going to check on my conversion fact sheet, and I'm going to look for square feet. That would be an area unit. I'm trying to get from square feet to acres. Oh, there happens to be one that'll do that. 43,560. 43,560. So let me just jot that down so I don't forget. 560 acres, square feet in an acre. Let me get that erased. Let me say feet squared is 1 acre. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at that conversion fact sheet 43560. Yep. Okay, making sure I had the right number. So I'm going to use that. So I'm going to take my 341,842. This is really frustrating. It just doesn't write. It's got a big delay. That right now is up on top. And what I want is for feet squared to cancel out. So that means I'm going to need acres on top and the 43,560 on the bottom. Okay, so again, on that one, we will divide. Okay? All right, so that's kind of the way we do these things. I'm going to leave the tons number 4 for you. Let's do another metric one. So with this one, the DA, that's decagrams. We're trying to get from decagrams. So we're taking our 35. Make sure that looks like I want it to. Okay. So we're going to take our 35. So 35. And that's decagrams right now with an understood decimal right here. So I have to think about going to kilograms. So to go to kilograms, deca would have to go to hecto, and then it would have to go to kilo. And that means the decimal should be there. So it's going to be 0.35 kilograms. Okay. So that's 0.35. 0.35. Okay. All right, here's another one that's a metric to metric. So let's try it. I'm going to try seeing if I can just snip this and get it to where it'll be in something that might write better. So let me try that, see if that works better. Okay. So let's see if this is any more effective. Okay, so on this one, what I'm trying to do is get from grams to milligrams. Oh yeah, that writes better. Okay. All right, so here we are in grams. We're trying to get to milligrams. So go to your conversion fact sheet and think about how you're starting with grams. So you're here in the middle, and you're trying to go to milligrams, which would be here. So you're going to have to go 1, 2, 3 moves. Okay. So you're starting with grams. Okay, so that's the 0. Back in the wrong one. Hold on, let me go to the snip. That's the 0.0729. That's grams. You're trying to go to milligrams. So that means you're going to have to go from grams to deci, to centi, and then finally to milli. Okay, the decimal will be there. So that's going to be 72.9 milligrams. Okay, let me see if there's any other decimal ones. Here's another one metric ones. Here's another one that's a metric to metric. So 306, decimal understood to be there. Starting with deciliter, trying to go to milliliter. Starting with deciliter here and trying to go to milliliter. Okay, so let's go back to that one. Starting with deci, trying to go to milli. So we're at deci, so we need to go from deci to centi, finally to milli, which means it's going to be 30,600 milliliters. Okay. All right, let's go from pounds to kilograms. Pounds to kilograms. All right, so I'm going to go back to my conversion fact sheet. Pounds to kilograms. So that's a weight. So that means I'm going to look on the second page where it's units of weight. And right here I have a kilogram to pounds. 2.2 pounds is the same as 1 kilogram. Okay. So if I'm starting with this many pounds, pounds is LB, I need pounds to cancel. And I know 2.2 pounds is the same as 1 kilogram. So that tells me on this one I'm going to need to divide. So I'm going to take that 8546 and divide by 2.2. It's just took that one step. That won't always be the case. I did a lot in homework and on the review that took more than that. If I rounded to 2 decimal places, it would be 0.55. Would that be that many? Now kilograms, because pounds is gone. All right, let's see if we can get from a milliliter to a fluid ounce. Milliliter to a fluid ounce. All right, so that's a second page problem. That's part of capacity. Milliliter to a fluid ounce. So I have to look for something that can get, wow, I'm looking for something that can get me from metric to English, and I'm going to need a fluid ounce. So I have fluid ounces here, but that goes to pints. Okay, here I have something that can get me from liters into quarts, so I could get from quarts to pints, but I'd have to get from a liter to from a milliliter to a liter. So I think that's my plan. So I have to think through these just like you do. So when I'm looking at this one, I'm thinking that what I can do is go from a milliliter to a liter. Once I have liters, there was a conversion fact that would get me to quarts. Then I can go to pints, and then I can go to fluid ounces. Okay, so that's going to be my plan. All right. All right, so I need a little bit of room. I wish I had written that above. I'm going to erase that and write it above. So my idea is milliliter to liter, then I can go to quarts, then I can go to pints, and then there was a thing that would take me to fluid ounces, okay? So when you're doing the milliliter, the 510 milliliters to liters, you can use the metric to metric, because right now the decimal point is after the 0, and milliliter needs to go to centiliter to deciliter and then just to liter. So once I do that, the 0.510 is now liters. So I could do that, or I could multiply by the fact that 1 liter is the same. I could have 1 liter on top and 1,000 milliliters on the bottom. So I could do that, or I could have taken the 510 milliliters multiplied by the fact that there are, that 1 liter is the same as 1,000 milliliters. But if you didn't know that, and you were using the other way to do it, that would get us to that same point, okay? All right, now what I'm going to do is, now that I'm at liters, I'm going to get to quarts because of the fact here that told me 1 liter is the same as 1.06 quarts. So now I'm going to say, okay, so I know 1.06 quarts, I'm going to use QT, over is the same as 1 liter. So I can put it over 1 liter to get to quarts. Okay, then this one I know that 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. Okay, so if you look at the conversion fact sheet, we're now moving up to that top part. So 1 quart was 2 pints, and then I know a pint is 16 fluid ounces. So now I can go on and multiply by the fact that 1 pint is the same as 16 fluid ounces. So that means you need to multiply the 510, the 1.06, the 2, and the 16. Let me do those in a different color. Well, no, I'll just leave it. All right, so we're going to multiply the 510. I'll circle them. The 1.06, the 2, and the 16. And then if we're starting with the 510 milliliters, then we also have to divide by this 1,000, which is on the bottom. Okay, now you might have had right here already converted to liters using this idea. So then you would multiply just that 0.510 times everything to get to your fluid ounces. All right, so that one took a lot. All right, let's see about number 9. 9 was ounces to pounds. So let's see, is there something that'll get us directly? Ounces to pounds. Pounds is a weight unit. Oh yeah, right there. You may already know that one. 16 ounces is 1 pound. So that's a one-stepper. So I can take the 48 ounces, multiply by the fact that, use that unit fraction where I put ounces on the bottom. So 16 ounces on the bottom is equal to 1 pound, and that'll get me to pounds. So that tells me I need to divide So 48 ounces turns out to be 3 pounds. Okay. Now, a lot of these were one-steppers, and I'm worried about that. I didn't realize so many of them were just one step. So make sure you look at the ones we did in notes. Oftentimes you have to do more than one step. We don't normally have it where it's quite as bad as number 8, but oftentimes you would have to do more than just one, use more than just one unit fraction. All right, let's set up these last two on this top part. So here I'm starting with meters. Oh, that's a meters to kilometers. Okay, good. Okay, meters to kilometers. So I don't need to go to my fact sheet unless I need to look at the, if I want to do my conversion using this idea. Where is it? Right here. Okay, I can do that. I just need to think about what I'm starting with and where I'm trying to go. So I'm starting with meters, trying to go to kilometers. So I'm starting with meters. Now look, meters, liters, grams are your base unit. The little m that's here, you know how we have those abbreviations? Okay, that m is for milli. So you have to watch it. We're starting with meters, so we're starting here, and we're trying to get to kilometers, so we have to go this way, okay? All right, so let me go back and do that. So we're starting with meters, and the decimal's understood in a whole number. It's understood to be after the 0, trying to go to kilometers. So I have to go to decameter, hectometer, kilometer. Okay, so it should be 9.89 kilometers. Okay, now you could also take the 9,890 millimeters, and not millimeters, meters, and say to yourself, I'm trying to get to kilometers, and kilo means 1,000. So 1 kilo is 1,000 meters. So you could do that, and it would show you need to divide by 1,000. And dividing by 1,000, see how there's 3 zeros? 1,000 is 10 to the third, so you have to divide by 1, 2, 3. You can move the decimal 2 places to the left would be your shortcut. All right, and then I got one more that taken me from meters to feet. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the conversion fact sheet. I'm looking for meters to feet, so I have to be in the English to metric. So here's 1 foot. That many meters. Here's another one with meters to feet. Both of them would work, okay? Both of them would work. So if you use one versus the other, you might get a slightly different answer, but you would be approaching it correctly and would get credit for either way you set it up. So 3.2808, 3.2808. 3.2808 feet is the same as 1 meter, is the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to start with my meters being on top. I'm going to get rid of meters by having it on the bottom, and I know 1 meter is the same as that, and it only took that one step to do it, and I know I need to multiply to get my answer, okay? So I'm just going to multiply. Now, I could have used that other conversion fact that said 1 foot is 0.3048 meters. So 1 foot, could have used this one, equals 0.3048 meters. If I did that, if I started with my meters, I need meters on the bottom. So this time I would have 0.3048 meters on the bottom and 1 foot on the top. So I would have divided those, and I would get slightly different answers, but both of those would be correct. Okay?